name is Tasha Kelly. I'm a literacy TDS, and today we will enjoy our read aloud introducing theme. So today's read aloud will be Timeless Thomas, How Thomas Edison Changed Our Lives by Jean Barretta. So this story is about a real life person, the great inventor Thomas Edison. He was a young boy who helped people through his inventions. This is an informational text. You know, this book reminds me of a time when I invented a floor sweeper, trying to get out of my chores. I'm sure you guys have made many inventions right there in your home. You know, before we read the story, I have some vocabulary for you. Here are some words that you may have heard of or may not know what they mean, but they're in our story today. Our first word is technology. Can you say technology? Yes, technology. Technology, the use of science to invent useful things or to solve problems. Another word is device. Can you say device? Yes, device. A tool or machine that has a certain purpose. I know we've been on our devices at home a lot lately. Our next word is dictation. Can you say dictation? Yes, dictation. Dictation is listening and writing down what was said, a lot like taking notes. Our next word is valuable. Can you say valuable? Yes, valuable. Valuable, useful, helpful, and are important. Money, electricity, many things are valuable to us. So those are some words that you may hear while I'm reading today's read aloud. Now remember, I'm going to give you a thinking job. Here's your thinking job. As I am reading and you are listening, I want you to pay close attention to what the author is trying to get us to see about Thomas's ideas and inventions. Again, here's your thinking job. What is the author trying to get us to see about Thomas's ideas and our inventions? Let's go ahead and get started. Timeless Thomas, How Thomas Edison Changed Our Lives. Have you ever thought about inventing something of your own? You're never too young to try. Thomas Alva Edison began experimenting when he was just a boy. That's right, it was the beginning of a life dedicated to improving the world with his brilliant ideas and inventions. I think this book is going to be about a boy who becomes an inventor. Let's see. But Thomas couldn't do it alone. When he grew up, he gathered a large team of scientists, engineers, mechanics, and artisans in Winslow Park, New Jersey. Together, they started the first research and development laboratory in the world. It became known as the Invention Factory. Later, a second lab was built in West Orange, New Jersey. It was even bigger and better. These were the sites of his greatest successes and his most valuable failures. Edison used his failures as a necessary part of inventing. He once said, "I know several thousand things that won't work." And he would always try again. The book says he used his failures as a necessary part of his inventions. What do you think he means by that? The book says he uses his failures as a necessary part of his inventions. What do you think he means? Think about that. You're absolutely right. I'm sure every time something did not work, he used that mistake to make it better. You're amazing. So now when we talk about present day, we can now record any sound we like and save it. This was not possible before Edison. But in Edison's lab, Edison's tinfoil phonograph was the first device to record sound and play it back. It was a major scientific breakthrough and earned him his nickname, the Wizard of Menlo Park. That's pretty impressive for a man who was partially deaf. So here's some examples of present day and during Edison's lab time. Very interesting. Present day, if Thomas Edison was alive today, he would be fascinated by the many ways we listen to recorded sounds. It all started with his phonograph. Now, during Edison's lab, Edison constantly improved on his phonograph so it could have multiple purposes. Models were designed for homes and public arcades. Phonographs were also introduced to offices at the first dictation machine. It became possible for office workers to record spoken information, save it, then play it back when they were ready to copy it down. A small phonograph was built for the very first talking doll. Thomas Edison was constantly working to improve the phonograph to reach more people. This shows his dedication to his inventions and to helping others. Present day, need a battery? Take your pick. Today, they are made in many shapes and sizes. During Edison's lab, one of Edison's biggest successes was his nickel iron storage battery. It was originally created to power an electric car, but since the electric car didn't catch on, he found many other important uses for it. For example, Edison's battery was used to power boats, submarines, local delivery trucks, homes, railway cars, and signals. The list goes on and on. Present day, when members of our government cast a vote, they use very basic voting machines. The X-ray machine is a common way to photograph the inside of our bodies. During Edison's lab, Thomas Edison invented a vote recorder for the government. It was his very first patent. Having a patent means you legally own that invention. Over the course of his career, he was awarded 1,093 patents for his ideas. Edison's fluoroscope was the first example of X-ray technology. It generated bright and fast images. The basic design is still used today. Here's one last question for you. How do you think the invention of the fluoroscope is helpful today? So here was today, and then during Edison's lab. How is the invention of the fluoroscope helpful for us today? Think about that. You're right. We have x-rays in our mouth when we go to the dentist, of our body when we even go to the doctor. If we didn't have that, then the doctors wouldn't know what's going on inside of our bodies. Well, today, guys, that's it on that lesson. It's time for us to get ready for our reading mini lesson.
Good afternoon. My name is Mignon Rogers. I am a K-5 ELA TDS for the Houston Independent School District. Today's lesson will be on theme using Timeless Thomas from HMH. Let's go ahead and get started. Boys and girls, we have been studying the genre nonfiction. When we read biographies, we have a real person, which makes this a nonfiction text. If you can remember, when we talk about nonfiction text, that's the same as informational text. Informational text contains real information and facts. It contains pictures, charts, graphs, and diagrams, which we call text features. And then we see different types of print, which is also a text feature. In this book, I know that you guys had a chance to see underlining, bold, highlighting, and other different types of print. But just like realistic fiction and poetry, there is a message the author wants us to know. And guys, that message is called theme. Theme is the moral message or lesson of a story. So it's the heart of the story. The theme is often inferred, and if you can remember it inferencing, it's something that the author doesn't directly tell you from the text. You have to take what's in the text, what your thoughts are, to come up with an inference. Some examples of theme is honesty, family, kindness, respect, fear, goodness, and love. So let's find out what the theme was in Timeless Thomas. One way to determine the theme of a biography is to notice a contradiction. Often this might look like a challenge or something difficult that the person faced and how they overcame it. We can apply what we learn to our own lives, which is what we do with theme. The signposts will help us with determining the theme for today. This signpost is called Notice and Note Contrasts and Contradictions. When you're reading and a character says or does something that is the opposite or contradicts what he has been doing or saying all along, you ask yourself questions like, why is the character doing that? The answer can help you make a prediction or an inference about the plot or the conflict. Today, I will teach you how to determine the author's message or theme by providing evidence from the text using the signposts, contrasts, and contradictions. Let's read a piece of the read aloud that we read this morning. But Thomas couldn't do it alone. When he grew up, he gathered a large team of scientists, engineers, mechanics, and artisans in Menlo Park, New Jersey. Together, they started the first research and development laboratory in the world. It became known as the Invention Factory. I noticed a contradiction. Normally, most people give up. But in Thomas's case, he persevered. I can infer that Thomas was a resilient person. Look at that picture of his face right there. He looks really, really determined and resilient on this picture. A resilient person uses their failures as fuel for their success. On page 203 from our read aloud, it says, I know several thousand things that did not work. The narrator also mentioned that the Menlo Park lab was the site of his greatest successes and most valuable failures. Let's look at this graphic organizer, because remember, graphic organizers help us organize the information that we read in all different types of text. Contradiction in the text. Obstacle. Thomas Edison failed many times. An accomplishment. Thomas Edison used his failures as a necessary part of inventing. So, what I learned from this, use your failures to help you be successful. Let's look at another page from the Read Aloud. Edison's tinfoil phonograph was the first device to record sound and play it back. It was a major scientific breakthrough and earned him his nickname, the Wizard of Menlo Park. That's pretty impressive for a man who was partially deaf. Partially deaf. I think that means that he couldn't really hear 100% in both of his ears. All right, I want you to turn and talk with the partner about what you notice about Thomas Edison here. And you can use a sentence stem, I noticed. All right, very good. But there's a contradiction here. The text on page 205 says that Edison invented a phonograph, the first device to record sound and play it back. However, the text also says that Edison was partially deaf. That means that he could not hear well, remember? How did Edison overcome this obstacle? You could use that sentence stem, Edison overcame the obstacle of blank by blank. Good job, let's move on. Okay, when you use your sentence stem, did you determine that Thomas Edison overcame the obstacle of being partially deaf by continuing to work on his invention until he made a breakthrough? If you can, take a little sheet of paper, quickly draw that graphic organizer that we just saw, and then fill out this part for me. And see what we can learn from Thomas Edison. All right, so let's check in. Let's see what you wrote. Look at this contradiction in the text. Thomas Edison was partially deaf. His accomplishment was Thomas Edison invented the phonograph. So what I learned was don't let physical abilities hold you back from doing anything. All right, let's look at this piece of text. One of Edison's biggest successes was his nickel iron storage battery. It was originally created to power an electric car. But since the electric car didn't catch on, he found many other important uses for it. For example, Edison's battery was used to power, if you can see, buoys, local delivery trucks, boats, and submarines. Let's see if we can find the contradiction in that text. So the obstacle was people didn't want to use Thomas Edison's battery to power electric cars. But did he give up? No, he didn't. His accomplishment was Thomas Edison found many other important uses for it. So what did I learn from that? And remember, we're thinking about gathering all of this information so that we can determine the theme. If your idea isn't popular, maybe it could be used in other ways instead. So, looking at these three smaller lessons, what message do you think the author wants us to take away about Thomas Edison? Let's look at some possible responses for this. Could it be, always keep going no matter what? Never give up? Or, If at first you don't succeed, try again. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson. Now we're going to move into our exit ticket. So I want you to either turn that sheet of paper over that you use for your graphic organizer and jot down this question really quickly. How do we determine theme in a biography? And I'm going to give you a few seconds for that. All right, boys and girls, for your exit ticket, I hope that you put, we determine theme by looking at what a character says or does that's the opposite or contradicts what he or she has been doing all along. All right, thank you guys for watching. See you later.